Apple Intelligence is coming later this fall with iOS 18 if you have an iPhone 15 Pro or later, as it's going to be exclusive to the iPhone 15 Pro and the 16 lineup. But if you have an iPad M1 or a MacBook M1 or later, you are still going to get the features. So right now for iPhone it's a little exclusive, but we're going to have to see how this plays out in the fall, as I definitely think it's going to be something a lot of people are going to want to get their hands on, and Apple claims they actually had to keep it higher because of all of the processing power and the neural engine power that the large action model would need for Apple Intelligence to run on device. Now, Apple can definitely send it to the cloud, and they do that with some requests with ChatGPT 4.0 and OpenAI, but I definitely think this is something where we have to look at how it plays out, as I truly do believe, as Apple is advertising, this is going to be the AI for the rest of us, as I know a lot of people who right now haven't gone anywhere near AI or even have considered remotely touching AI with this 10-foot pole. Now, I definitely think this is something that's going to be very beneficial to every user. As someone who plays around with ChatGPT and Microsoft Copilot, I definitely can see a benefit to having this in everyday life, but there is also that place where you kind of have to draw the line, I feel like, with those, as none of your data is private if the company chooses it not to be. Now, Apple is making sure this is completely private. They have no action to it, no way to access it, as they're even coming out with something called private cloud computing, as this essentially is only their servers, which are based off of Mac Minis, I believe, with their M Silicon chips in it, and you will only connect to that server if it has been independently verified by multiple security analysts, which essentially means that multiple people are going to be looking at the data who aren't being paid by Apple and essentially being paid to just be like, yeah, it's secure. So I definitely think that is going to be something that is going to bring a lot of people to essentially use AI more, because they know their data isn't being accessed or even sent to the cloud, as if you have an iPhone 15 Pro or later with the A17 Pro or later chip, it is essentially going to be doing everything it can on device, and if it has to reach out to ChatGPT and OpenAI, it will. But you're going to get a pop-up before it even does that, so you essentially could be like, nope, want to keep my stuff private, don't send it out, or yeah, let's ask ChatGPT and see what it says. I know personally right now, as it stands, we all can probably agree that Siri is not the smartest. And Siri is going to get a major overhaul with this LAM action, as it's going to bring so many just quality of life improvements, as Siri has definitely been the neglected child over the years, as it was just something Apple was like, yep, we're integrating it, but we want to keep it private, so we just can't make it any better, which I definitely think they could have, just kind of using like employees and just being like, what is something you want to change? Well, like, what is a common problem you have? Because if it's a common problem the employees have, I feel it would be definitely a common problem the users are having. But then again, this is definitely going to be a very interesting feature once it rolls out. So it can write absolutely anything you want, or even generate its own text if you want, just based off of how you word it, similar to how any other AI can, but it's all kept private. And I'm going to keep saying that because that is something that any AI right now, it doesn't seem to be private. And you can now use these new writing tools to write anything you want. You want to invite your friends to an event using a poem, you can do that. You want to write an email in a professional tone, you can do that. And you don't have to essentially write that email. Now, there's also a proofread and rewrite button. As we talked about before, rewrite will essentially just rewrite the work you have already written, but proofread is definitely something I personally am interested in, just because having that essentially ability to have it be proofread and make sure, I didn't make a grammar mistake or I didn't essentially mess it up is definitely going to be very nice to have, as it can change it in the fly, and I don't really have to be involved to make sure it's accurate as much, as I know personally I make spelling mistakes all the time, don't realize it, and then I realize it either after I send the email or before, and now knowing I can just click a button and have it automatically do it and know it'll be accurate and get everything is definitely nice, instead of how it is now. If you use like the Apple Mail app, for example, it doesn't essentially flag every word is wrong, but now it will. You're also going to get priority notifications. So this is something that I'm definitely looking forward to. As someone who gets probably hundreds of notifications over the day, having it essentially be like, oh, this notification is important, and bringing it to the top and kind of in my face is definitely going to be so nice to have, just because I'm not going to miss out on those notifications, and it'll also summarize them if they're very long emails and such, so I can make sure I'm getting the information I need, and if I want to learn more, I can. You can also now record a phone call and have it transcribed, which is something I think is very nice to have, as it's been 18 iOS versions, we haven't gotten this yet, and I know a lot of people who would like the ability to just record a phone call, because it would just be easier to kind of have that transcription and go back to it if needed. And of course, it does tell the other person this phone call is being recorded, so they are aware as well. Now, Apple also kind of took their own interpretation and is giving us our own ability to generate images using Image Playground. Now, this essentially, you can say whatever you want and generate your own images, which is something I think is going to be useful in the beginning and then just kind of be one of those features we forget about. But maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe it won't be used in the beginning and then gain traction as time goes on. I know personally, I played around with some of those like DALL-E generators and image generators of AI, and they definitely work well enough, but they aren't there yet to the point where I would just be like, oh yeah, I'll use this instead of searching for the image I want or even taking the image myself that I want. But the fact that you'll be able to turn kind of a rough sketch into like a professional looking image is definitely very cool, as Apple seem to be a lot more accurate than the DALL-Es and other generators that I've used, as they definitely just can't understand like what a person's hand looks like, or the fact that our heads aren't on backwards and stuff like that. But we'll have to see when it all comes out, as this is definitely going to be very interesting. And now, Genmoji. Now this is something I think is going to be very cool, as we can create our own emojis. And I can't tell you the amount of times I probably have felt there hasn't been an emoji that I thought was there. We can talk about the thief emoji that I could have sworn was on the iPhone for a very long time and has now disappeared. But you'll be able to essentially make your own emojis and send them to people just like you would with an image or whatever, or even a regular emoji, which is definitely going to be so cool just to have essentially your own emojis and not have to wait for Unicode and Apple to add them to the software like that we do now. So being able to say, hey, I want this image now, or I want this emoji now, is going to be so nice to have. Now, Siri also draws from the on-screen awareness, so if you have a photo or a message up from your friends and you want to get more information, you could just ask Siri, and Siri will summarize anything on screen and say, hey, you asked about your lunch with Bob. Here's all the information about your lunch with Bob. Even though it's not on your calendar, it'll essentially look through your stuff and say, hey, here it is, and keep it all on your device so you don't have to worry about it being sent somewhere else, but you'll be able to interact and see it all right there. Now, Siri is also completely redesigned from the ground up and now illuminates the border of your screen, which just looks so much nicer instead of that glowing orb, as it's kind of to highlight that on-screen intelligence. Now, you can also directly just type to Siri if you just double tap on the slider bar on the iPhone or even your iPad or on Mac, and it'll be so nice to just kind of quickly type that question, as before you either had to have it on permanently or off to type to Siri. Now you can pick as you go. You can also just know how to use your iPhone. So if you want to ask how to send a scheduled text messages or how to, select multiple photos, you can ask Siri on how to do it, and it'll just tell you how to do it on your iPhone, and you don't have to essentially spend hours Google searching or asking, that tech inclined family member. Now, Siri also is becoming textually aware, so if you stumble over your words a lot, or if you say, hey, set a timer for 9 minutes, oh wait, 18, it can now pick up that you actually want the timer for 18 minutes, not 9, which is so nice to have that change, just because you realize, hey, I need longer than I actually said, or I need shorter than I actually said. But overall, this is everything that Apple's advertised with its Apple Intelligence, and I gotta say, this is seeming to be a very interesting upgrade and feature lineup coming later this year to the iPhone 15 Pro, M1 iPads, and M1 Macs. Now, I do have to say, let me know what your thoughts are on this, because I know personally, I'll probably be using this when it comes out. It will be in beta in the fall, so we definitely won't have it being 100%, accurate. But right now, no ChatGPT or AI even seems to be 100% accurate while they are still learning. I definitely think when Apple does something, they do it right, which is kind of why Apple waited to get all these bugs sorted out. But let me know what your thoughts are with a comment down below. And while you're down there, if you want to hit like and subscribe, I'd appreciate that as well. And I want you to remember, today's a good day to make a great day, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.